I've decided on principle not to, because I realised I hadn't actually read all of them yet, let alone seen all of them. So you never know. There might be a work of genius. Obviously, Hamlet and Lear and stuff, but maybe there's an even better one out there that somehow has managed to remain secret. Perhaps Titus Andronicus is genuinely one of his best works. So until then, I think probably best steer clear of it, really, just in case, hedging my bets. The man was a genius. It's as simple as that. And almost certainly the greatest literary figure that these isles are ever going to give birth to. So it would seem perverse not to, put some emphasis on his work. I think the issue is not so much teaching Shakespeare; it's whether it should be taught or not, and whether the plays in particular ought to be taught. It's how. I think as long as you're getting sort of good feedback from the kids, as long as they're not sort of so put off by the whole process that they stop, reading anything or ever are determined never to go to a play or something, that's okay. I think it should be done. If it can be done at all properly, by all means do it. There's no one else that deserves such attention. They were kind of quite lowbrow, frankly. It was things like the Marx Brothers movies, the Goons, certainly, and later on Monty Python. And also quite a lot of plays for today, the Wednesday play, that sort of stuff, which is going way back on the BBC many, many moons ago. I think a lot of those had an effect. We just weren't a particularly play-going family or anything, so I had a very limited exposure to proper drama and to theatres and so on, and even to movies. That's because if we ever went to a film, I always came back with a flea. I discovered our local cinemas really were flea pits, and I react very badly to any sort of anything like a flea at all. I call them welts and so on. So we didn't really go. So I was restricted to stuff on television, and this was all, of course, pre-VHS, let alone DVDs. So. The books I remember that changed my view, they were probably quite late, actually. They were probably books like Catch-22 by Joseph Heller, and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. Books like that. They were the last ones to get under the wire, as it were. I mean, I think I write a lot of writers. I'm pretty sure I read voraciously as a child, but so madly that I didn't always take much notice of what was in the cover, of what the title of the book was, or who had written it, which is pretty bad and not completist behaviour at all. Shame on me. But I think that, in a sense, as long as you read a vast amount, you're doing okay. They'd have to get a bit more, a bit more particular about it. And in my case, the stuff that really influenced me was stuff that got there just before my own sort of character, in a sense, was starting to become properly formed, especially my character as a writer. So, I'd probably mention those. And quite a lot of science fiction as well. There's a book called Stand on Zanzibar by John Brunner, late, now great, always a great, now a late English writer. It had a quite profound effect on me as well. There's always, I could name dozens of books that had, fairly enormous effect on me, both in my own chosen genre of science fiction and mainstream as well. Not a problem. And obviously, I'm a serial reoffender in the sense that I write a science fiction novel, after every mainstream novel. They're sort of interleaved. I think if I'd kept my nose clean and written nothing but fairly respectable mainstream for the last, decade or something, then I might have been forgiven for writing science fiction at all. But the fact is, it's a genre that I love, and I love reading science fiction. I love writing science fiction. So I'm not, I don't intend to give it up unless I'm kind of forced to by lack of ideas or something. So it's not really a problem. I'm in a sense, a deeply privileged position. I get to write in two different forms, in mainstream and science fiction, and get away with it, And there's not very many writers that are, to be fair, there's not many want to do that, I suppose, but I do, and I'm allowed to, and I'm aware that is, something of a privilege. I definitely have a routine. Whether it's absolutely necessary, I wouldn't like to find out, in a sense. I've tried sort of writing just, by setting off and seeing what happens. That doesn't work. I find I have to plan out what I'm going to be writing reasonably so closely. The theory is that I write for 5 days a week and for office hours, basically, 9 to 5. In practice, I know if I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's absolutely no point trying to get back to sleep. So if I do wake up thinking about the book at 4 a.m., I get up and I start writing, and quite often I've done my day's words by the time people are going for their breakfast. So, and I tend to write in the cold months of the year. The thing is, being self-employed as a writer, I'm a very, very good boss. If I want a day off, I give myself it every single time. And if it's a nice day, I tend to want to walk up a hill or go a nice little walk in the forest along the coast or something. So if I lived in Southern California, I'd be lucky to complete a haiku every year, frankly, because the weather in Scotland is so utterly abysmal, between roughly sort of September and May. I tend to write for about 3 months in the depths of winter, and that way I'm almost never tempted to go out into the howling gale and so on, and the slashing rain. So it means I can write a book in some comfort and know it will be finished by usually the end of March.